Good morning, all. Well, this is it. Finally, we get to the point of this indecision midterm election thing over. And we're all waiting for here. Is it going to be a red wave, a red market, or are we going to be put to sleep? I don't think the sleep thing is going to happen tomorrow morning, but it should be interesting nonetheless. I would certainly much prefer the markets to be red today, going down, but we've got a lot of indecision between the markets here. The markets tried to move lower yesterday, and you can see on the screen there, the spiders just ended with a relatively narrow inside day. So they really didn't go anywhere. Just chopped around, tried to go lower. And this was, excuse me, one of our scenarios that we talked about last week. One being going down to retest, and one of them was a sideways choppy consolidation. And within that, excuse me, the ideal was to have an attempt to go lower that recovered. So we really don't have that yet. There was the attempt on Friday, and the cues did look worse than that, but the spiders ended with a little bottoming tail, and now we've got this inside bar, and so now we'll see if we can break this higher low. Yes, happy birthday, Alex. So as we always do, right? So when we came in yesterday, it's just what I like to call the factory work, and part of the process is when you come into a new day's trading, the first question is, do we get out of yesterday's range? Because that's a starting point. So unless yesterday was a big wide range more where there could be intraday trades inside of that range, what we're really looking for is in some directional bias is, can it trade above the prior day's high, or can it trade below the prior day's lows? Now, what we have today being a narrow range inside day, taking out yesterday's high or low really doesn't ignite a move in either direction, but it could be the start. So as we look at those intraday charts, we've got a little tiny range going on there, that high and low there. And so, right now we're just chopping sideways. The white is the trading during market hours, and the gray is what's happening in the overnight hours. And so you can see if there's any trend pre-market. And as you can see, it's dead, right? Traders, investors are just sitting there waiting for some type of information, which probably, because whatever's going on today, people voting, there's nothing going to be available until after the market closes and, voting closes. So we'll see what the day brings. So the Qs actually did break down through last Friday's low, but it recovered, came back up. But in the scheme of looking at the hourly trend, no big deal. And so this is what we do as we look at multiple time frames and say, well, what is the trend in a higher time frame? And of course, we could go to the weekly and put it all in context of, higher to lower. But anyway, the daily is in a downtrend, did not overcome major resistance. The hourly, that's move up, as it started to move down, is now in a downtrend, trending lower. And the question is, can it break through yesterday's low or above yesterday's high? So that's the starting point. Based on the bottoming tail bar, you would think, okay, it should be able to get above yesterday's high, but it's really not a big deal. It's really got to get through here. And what we'll be looking for is, today would only be one day. And then, tomorrow, the expectation would be that we're going to get a move of some significance one way or the other here. So let's assume, not taking a thought as to who wins more seats, just, okay, the positive reaction would be a measured move to the upside with a target up there. If it's viewed as being negative, we look for, ideally, a move down here. And regardless of, who won, we then look for, a move into that area that results in, some type of a green bar, right? However that's going to form. And based on where our market internals are, we would then look to buy that, and we see where it goes based on this pattern, the weekly time frame, market internals. So this should be taken out after a stall there. That's a long ways away for that to happen. But we formulate our plan. This is how we do it. And Russell just marked time yesterday. Look at the little candle bodies, almost identical. It's kind of odd to see identical days like that. So buyers stepping up on the dips would suggest if it takes it out, and this would be more meaningful, taking out yesterday's high today, that would be meaningful as opposed to the spiders and the Qs, which would suggest a move up. And we'll just see. I'm going to set an alert on that. I probably have on my other system, but I may as well set one here so to be sure. If it can take that out, and if it does take out these lows here, well, that's going to be significant as well. Transports, sell setup within a downtrend. So we'll see what happens there. And flipping over to oil, which has been just shellacked big time. It's coming down to that 62 level, and the downside momentum is beginning to slow. So you got this inverted topping tail, or hammer, and it's called, which is supposed to suggest a bottom. So we'll see if this is green and whether we can see oil getting to bounce. And theoretically, that is supposed to put some pressure on the transports. But considering the fall here, just rallying a little bit shouldn't be that meaningful. But considering how far they fell, the transports went down with it. So, that lowering in prices of crude oil certainly didn't help the transports turn around immediately. But maybe longer term, if it stays down there, that would be a help. So something to keep in mind. Gold, still hanging around here. It's just probably that market just waiting like we are to see what's going to happen here with these midterms. And futures, just sleeping, just waiting, sleeping, see if they can get above a high or a low here. We do have a sell setup, declining 20, declining 50, 20 under that, 20 even under the 200. 200's flat. So it's not really curling yet, but another day like this in the 20 probably flattens out. But in any event, it's got to break this low here to get something going on the downside. You see the wider range from a couple of trading days ago. As long as it's trading within that range, just no big deal about anything. So again, we'll just see whether we can get above yesterday's high or below yesterday's low. But because the trend is down, getting below yesterday's low certainly opens up the door to what would be a more meaningful move, since again, that trend is down and there is a void below, which you can see here on the 60-minute chart. Once it breaks this, it should fall all the way down into this level. Qs, same story, inside day. I mentioned at the end of the trading day yesterday here, today may be a day of watching the grass grow or the paint dry, as it said. So we'll see what's moving here. And the Dow actually been the strongest, but that was again within the context of just trading within that range. So no big deal. Just had something more different to go on here, but I have no real direction from the markets here to have a bias one way or another. So bonds, nothing. We went through oil, we went through gold, and just taking a peek through what's moving here a bit. Must be a low price stock. Sure, it had to be down 55%. Medical. That is the risk with these biotech medicals. You know, make 300% one day, lose all your money the next. And you know, Amazon not doing much of anything here. And Square, I think if the market turns around, this is going to be one of the leaders to move up. And AMD had a decent day yesterday, but you know, in the context of what's going on here, really not a big deal. Yes, but just looking at it in the middle of the day yesterday, it had a nice rally up into resistance. So other than an intraday play, no biggie. And so we'll sit back here and see what moves here in the first 5 minutes, 30 minutes, and how the day progresses. And we'll get, I know, of course, we're going to get some movement overnight and then tomorrow, but it's a wait and see for now. So all yours, Dan.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. And actually talking about all these gaps as a reminder, tomorrow MT Live is going to be on trading professional gaps. You hear us saying this a lot, one of our favorite subjects. Can you all see my screen? Something's looking weird on my end. It's not showing me the big rectangle. All right, as long as you can see it, I'm not going to worry about it. But I got my little dashboard here. Whatever, it doesn't matter. As always, let's take a look at our opens and then gaps and then some stocks of carryover interest. Qs, we have a bear call credit spread. We covered half yesterday. I'll be looking to tighten the stop here. I'll watch at the open. This would be a tighter one. This would be a more comfortable one, which is still below the opening. And that's just what we'll use for trailing stops. Sienna did, oh shoot, yes, Sienna, we just have as a watch, did not trigger it. KR, a weekly put spread where we got triggered on the morning pullback. XLP was a put spread. SCS directional. And if things start to stall on these directionals, I will leg into covered calls, just again to give us that little cushion into earnings tonight, which is an event similar to gaps, to an earnings stock, the midterm elections. It's an unknown event that is going to make a big move. Rost here looks great, though. I'm going to put him in a window just to keep an eye on him closer. Cisco did not trigger, or actually, my bad, it did. It triggered over, so I got to update that. And Dove, we had a put spread, triggered. Sale, I'm just watching here as a higher low pullback. I like the weekly. Dropbox, we actually were watching as a short right here. And then I said, hey, this could be setting up a breakdown failure. And that's kind of exactly what it did. I'll be keeping an eye on that for a put spread. Daku, we have a put spread that expires a week from Friday. And over Friday's high, it actually looks like a directional. It's come all the way back down to the IPO support. Look at these three bottoming tails. Now, I know yesterday was only one day, But if it holds like this, then that's a much higher low on the weekly. And we haven't covered any. And we're just in trail mode, made money through time decay. Let's look at some gappers here. Sabra 2050, very bearish gap. Is that a pro gap, yes or no? It's gapping right there. Under 3 major pivots, yes, that's a bearish pro gap. But as we're going to drill into you on Wednesday, if you don't already know, if you're a seasoned subscriber of the Green Trading Room, you already know this. But that's just step 1. Not all pro gaps are tradable. A pro gap means it's a significant gap igniting a new move. Now, this move is in sideways. So the igniting move is from sideways to down. They all aren't tradable, though. We need a good reward to risk, a price void, and an intraday setup. Now, that gap's too big to make it a tier 1 trade for me. 41.50, tapestry. That could be a 30-minute low trade. It's gapping us up some support, but if it can't bounce in the 30 minutes, Claire, very light volume at 11, so I can't tell. But if it is gapping to 11 on volume, that's a bullish gap. It looks light volume. Look at this intraday. Here, I like my 15-minute better anyway. But a 15-minute chart should not have gaps like that. Yeah, look at that, 80,000 volume. Forget it, I'm just deleting you right now. Another material stock from the XLB in pain, 1240, gap into this, prior low, but it's a climactic monthly and weekly. So I would not be looking to short that. Instead, what would I be looking to do? Anyone?